Is it recording? Okay, it's out. Let's talk about the 11 books that I've read over the last 3 months. Hello, friends, family, and intimate reading associates. Welcome back to the channel. Did I just say welcome? Welcome back to the channel. I feel like you can't see me. Is that good? Is this better? I think that'll do. Yes, welcome back to yet another quarterly wrap-up. This is the wrap-up where we talk about everything that I read over the last 3 months. All the books that I read over the course of the summer. Let's jump right in, shall we? Howling Dog by Christopher Rocchio. This book was nothing short of spectacular. I rated it a 4.75. The only reason it wasn't a 5 out of 5 was because there were some moments that dragged a little bit, but that doesn't stop a book from being good, does it? This book is phenomenal. This is book 2 in what is known as the Sun Eater series, a soon-to-be 7-part space opera epic science fiction story written by one of the best contemporary science fiction writers of our generation. Christopher Rocchio, everybody! Give this man a hand. These books are fantastic. I don't want to give too much away about what this book is because, well, it is a secret. Excuse me for that little detour, the battery just died on me, as it always does in every single video that I try to film, and I lost my train of thought. Howling Dog! We pick back up several decades into the future after the ending of the first book, Empire of Silence. Yes, I say several decades because, well, there's a lot of space travel. Everything in this world is super believable, everything just seems to fit. If you're a big fan of Dune, or if you're even interested in Dune, this is the closest thing that I've come to in science fiction that feels authentically Dune-esque without trying to be a copycat. But one thing that I will also say about this book is that it is quite scary. Oh my gosh, this book was so flippin' good. I don't think anyone would regret picking up this book or this series. What a book to start off this frickin' wrap-up with, right? Ooh. Next in the month of July, Ronald Malfi's Blackmouth. This is a coming-of-age cosmic horror set in, well, set in some place. I can't remember. We follow 3 childhood friends in their adult years as they try to battle the traumatic events of their past. And boy, does that have a lot to be said about it. I mean, this is cosmic horror to the purest sense. Like, it feels a little bit reminiscent of Stephen King's It, in the fact that these kids in their youth, in this little town where things just seem to not feel right, encounter a strange figure in the woods who can do magic seemingly out of nowhere. He teaches these kids magic tricks, but he tells them not to tell any of the adults in the town that he's there. This is a very heavy book. It deals with a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma, so if you're triggered by certain things, I think you know where I'm driving at. Maybe this book isn't for you. I mean, to tell you how rough this book can get, the authors provided some hotlines at the back of the book, just in case it's that heavy. Okay. This book, overall, I gave it a 3-star because I was really into it the first 200 pages or so, and then the second half, I was just a little bit let down with the ending because there were some things that were left unresolved, which makes me think there may or may not be a sequel. But the thing is, it doesn't feel like there needs to be a sequel at the same time. So there's just some loose ends. That was just me wanting something that this book was not going to provide. Apart from my silly tastes, I think any horror fan worth their salt would love this book. Oh, wow. Next. Scott Phillips Cottonwood. This is a historical fiction crime thriller mystery. Kansas, 1872. We follow our main character, what's your name? Bill Ogden. Been quite a long time. It's been almost 3 months since I read this book, so I don't remember the character. Anywho, we follow We follow Bill Ogden. He's the owner of this local saloon in this little Kansas town known as Cottonwood. He's also an amateur photographer, so he, takes pictures all over town. His life sucks. He has a promiscuous wife who's cheating with him all over town. He has a son that doesn't even treat him like a father. And Kansas, 1872. No infrastructure, nothing. So it's not the place to be at the time, right? A wealthy developer from Chicago and his wife moved to town, and they have plans to essentially industrialize the entire place. Make this town a booming railroad town. Well, on top of all this, there is a family that is murdering salesmen, merchants, people traveling on the road. There's everything that you could want from the Western tropes, and there's anything that you can want from the thriller mystery tropes. I was a little let down because there was a random jump 20 years into the future that just made no sense. And on top of it, it has one of my least favorite tropes of all time, adultery. I did not appreciate any of the choices of this main character. He was kind of stupid. So I'm not, I don't ride or die for this man. I gave this book 3 stars as well. It was okay. Maybe Scott Phillips has some other things that I might like. I was interested in the idea of 1870s Kansas, but then it became 1890s Kansas. I was really wanting more of a Western than what I got. Instead, I got Cottonwood. Because the main character is the person telling me what's going on, kind of kills the vibe, kind of kills the fun. You know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh, yes. Next in the month of July, The Shadow of the Torturer by Gene Wolfe. Book 1 in the Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. Epic science fiction fantasy masterpiece of the 80s. This book was dense. It was very rich in philosophy, in science. It was very rich in just atmosphere. This world feels post-apocalyptic, but yet somehow it's like a medieval science fiction, so it's thousands of years into our future. It feels ancient and futuristic at the same time. Very poetic, very lyrical writing. The fact that there's 3 novels after this book makes me wonder where the heck the story's going. I gave this book a 3.25 just because it is the opening to a series, and I did have to reread a lot because there were some things that I just didn't grasp right away. Not to say that this is so heavy and so dense that you won't be able to understand it. That's not what I'm saying. With how some people feel about Tolkien and his writing and his descriptions, that's how I feel about Gene Wolfe. The reading experience for me personally wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been, but I still really appreciate what Gene Wolfe has begun, and I see why a lot of my favorite contemporary science fiction authors turn to him as a guide because stellar. All right, starting with Diana Gabaldon. Outlander. Yeah, the first book in the Outlander series. You guys got a mouthful of how I felt about this book. Here's the thing. I am all about a good historical fiction time travel romance. One of the best books I've ever read, Stephen King, 11/22/63, has that same trope. Love that. Love it all day long. The second thing that got me, besides the premise of the book, was the immediate beauty apparent in Miss Gabaldon's writing. Her prose is immaculate. I love the flourish that she uses. I love everything about how she writes. But the thing that got me the most was Claire fetching Randall. She's so... I wanted to bash my head into a wall. World War II has just ended. She got married right before the war started. She hasn't seen her dear husband Frank for, what, 6 years? They get together. They're enjoying their... Well, they're pretty much enjoying their honeymoon in the Highlands of Scotland. They're chilling. They're having a good old time. Until Claire just so happens to stumble into a ring of standing stones, ancient standing stones built by druids. She gets transported from 1945 to 1743. She goes thrust back in time and then proceeds the rest of the entire book to not even try to get back home. Could have fooled me. She is so dumb. A lot of people told me that she doesn't make better choices throughout the series. The rest of the book, she just keeps being Claire. I may give some of the sequels a try, but Lord, I mean, how do you go back in time and not think about your spouse and also not try to get back to your own present day? And also, how do you just somehow move on with your life? I don't know how that's possible, but that happened in this book. What did I give it? I gave it a 3.5. I enjoyed it for what it was, but shite. If Claire wasn't the main character and whoever replaced her made better choices and better decisions and also tried to fight to go back to her own time and, I don't know, made some chaos back in 1743, I would have loved that a lot better than, oh, I guess I'm stuck here. I'm going to stay in 1743. Even though I got to enjoy modern science as it was up to 1945, and I got to see my husband Frank after 6 years of being apart and not... Why? Just why? Somebody tell me that in the comments. Anyway, moving on. Next in the month of August, Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. Oh man, I finally get to talk about this book again. This was a novel that my wife gave me as part of a book swap that we did. Homeseeking, oh my gosh. A masterpiece. 5 stars. Yes, 5 star. First 5 star of this entire wrap up. Oh wait, is it the first 5 star or is it the only 5 star? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But my gosh, Homeseeking was so freaking good. We follow 2 main POVs, Suchi and Hywin, and the beauty about their stories is they work in tandem to tell the same story, but from different directions. Suchi's POV, we meet her and Hywin in the 1930s during the Japanese occupation of their part of China, right before World War II kicks off. And then from Suchi's POV, we work our way into, I think, about the 70s or 80s. And then we meet Highwind in the 2010s when he's an old man, and we follow his story backwards into the past, going all the way back to, you know, the 40s, 50s, everything. Like, we get everything told from two different directions, and then they beautifully, seamlessly meet in the middle. Oh my gosh, their stories are this beautiful tapestry of interwoven love and loss and grief and pain and warfare, right? It's a book about people. It is not a book about a lot of crazy plots and plot twists. No, not you. You're sitting with these two characters, hearing their lives. These are characters that are just bound together by a fate that is bigger than themselves, and they keep just coming back into each other's lives and leaving again. It's just one of those amazing stories. Everyone needs to read Carissa Chan. I mean, this was an absolute 5-star banger before I ever finished it. My wife recommended it to me for the book swap, and if that says anything, guys, you know her taste is amazing. Absolutely flawless. One of the best books I've read all year. Moving on. Where are you? Where are you? I can't... Oh, there it is. Next in the month of August, Speaks the Nightbird by Robert McCammon. Robert McCammon's one of the most underrated authors on BookTube. I freaking swear. This is the 4th book of his that I've read. Man, what to say? Set in the Carolina colonies in 1699. This is a book about witch trials, witchcraft. A woman has been accused of witchcraft in this small colony town known as Fount Royal. And our main character, Matthew Corbett, who is the clerk to a traveling magistrate, traveled to this town to dispense justice. But what they find under the surface of everything is a sinister plot, a sinister evil brewing under the surface of this town. This is 100% historical fiction, horror, suspense. Amazing. It is amazing. Now, the ending fell a little bit flat for me. I wanted 2 main things, okay? I wanted 2 main things that I can't give away. But let me just tell you, it's still a fantastic ending. It's still so perfect for this book. But I wanted something supernatural, something cosmic, which just showed you that I read too much Stephen King. So I gave this book a 4-star, and here's why. The prose, first and foremost, chef's kiss. Incredible! Like I said, this is my 4th Robert McCammon story, and his prose is different for each one of his novels. Like, he's a master of changing his voice to fit the time period, to fit the story, as any good author should be, right? He really nails what prose and dialogue and everything would be like in the 1690s. Oh my gosh, so well done. The characters were so utterly believable. Around every corner, you thought this town is absolutely insane. They're going crazier by the minute. And our poor main character is wrapped up in all of this. And of course, the mystery behind the witch, or the supposed witch, is so intense. My skin crawled at the beginning of that. A true suspense moment if I've ever read one. Robert McCammon is a stud, and apparently this is a 10-book series, which means I need to get cracking on the sequels because this is a great book. 4 stars, right? I think I will do that over time. If you're a little too scared to jump into pure horror, I think something like this would be much more up your alley. Robert McCammon does a very good job of filling you full of superstition and doubt. The entire time you're like, I want to think this, but it's really gonna be this. But then what he does, move everything around, and it's actually something completely different than what you thought. And that's how good of a writer he is. He's such a good suspense mystery writer. He's really good at the creepy and the suspenseful and the dark. So, if anything, this is a good book. All right, what's next? Oh my gosh, we're almost at the end, guys. Next, for the month of August, Heretics of Dune by Frank Herbert. This is book 5 in the infamous Dune saga. This book is set nearly 5,000 years after the first book. So, there's that to keep in mind. This is completely removed from what everybody's used to with the first novel and the movies. Completely different, right? We're still following similar characters, and there's a lot of callbacks to the 4th novel and the 2nd novel and the 1st novel in this book. But this is a widely different story than the beginning of the Dune saga itself. Recently, a BookTube friend of mine said that this was actually the beginning of a new trilogy that Frank was writing before he died. He wrote 2 of those 3 novels, so we didn't get the 7th and final Dune book. So that's why this kind of feels a little different. I tried reading this for the first time back in like 2021. I DNF'd at 120 pages in because I had no idea what the fetch was going on. I was so lost. And so I took a 4-year break, came back to it, and figured out that I really like this book. I had to get over the hump of the beginning, but man, once this book got going, really, really inventive, really creative, speculative fiction on Frank's part. Of course, Frank is doing what he does best. He's giving you anti-government sentiments. He's giving you don't follow charismatic leaders stuff, which which is, you know, just classic Frank Herbert. And he's also giving you political warfare over a finite resource that only one of them seemingly can control, and nobody can come to any peace accords with each other. And at the same time, you get different POVs from all of these political factions, and you're like, what is all of their goals? It seems like none of them have any goals. They would say, to sustain the human race. Well, the human race seems to be doing just fine without you guys. This book is kind of all over the place. It really is. But the ending was so good. One of Frank's best endings. I don't know. I really found a love for this book. I really started to enjoy it once I just kind of stepped back and let the book do its thing. One thing to be said about Frank is that his prose is top-notch. He will give you everything you're looking for and more. He breaks all the literary rules at the same time. So if you're used to a certain way of writing, Frank may trip you up with how he just cuts here and cuts there and does this and does that, and it seems like no other author really does that. This book was a solid 4-star, hands down. One of my favorites now of probably the entire series. I think this book helped me really convince myself, yes, the Dune Saga is one of my favorite series of all time. But I didn't just stop here. I immediately went on to the final book of the Dune Saga, Chapter House Dune. Oh, this book had such potential, I swear. This book had the makings of something really great. I'm sure the ending is actually really good, because I hear there's a whole, like, escape. 2 characters escape and blah, 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 blah. But I never got there. I DNF'd this about 65% of the way in, because there is a scene in here that was so disgusting and so jarring that I refused to finish the book. In fact, I will probably never read this book ever again because of how disturbing that scene was. Let's just say a 10-year-old boy gets, he gets abused for political purposes. Apparently everybody tries to justify it, so I hated that so much, I gave this a 0.25 star. Honestly, I should probably just give it a 0 because I hated that much. He had something so thought out and so creative going with those first 4 novels, and then he just switched lanes on us in the 80s and made everything just kind of go to crap, so this book was such a letdown, but that doesn't stop me from loving the series because, thankfully, no other book in the series is like this one, so I can forgive Frank to a point. Moving on, The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. This is the 3rd book in the Gentleman Bastards series. Man, I love the Gentleman Bastards. It is unlike any other fantasy series that I've read from the last 20 years, right? It's this perfect blending of The Count of Monte Cristo meets The Godfather meets The Pirates of the Caribbean, all wrapped up in this amazing freaking fantasy style with this witty prose and these insanely good characters and a really fun, adventurous crap going on. Heaps of fun. This series is so good because we're following a master of thieves known as Locke Lamora and his merry band of mischievous freaking con artists. But don't let me fool you. These books actually get quite dark at times. There's a sadness to them because, well, all of these young men are orphans and they're raised by professional criminals to be professional criminals. I don't know, Scott Lynch has a way of making me laugh and cry and sweat all at the same time. I gave this book about a 3.75. You know, I'm just waiting for the 4th book. That's really much it. This was never meant to be an ending to anything, so there's a lot left out on the table, and I'm just excited for the next step because, well, I love these characters. I love these characters so much. Scott Lynch can hold his prose with the best of them, so if you want to take a little bit step back from like the big epic fantasy where there are big battles, big wars, big magic, big worlds, and you're trying to get something a little bit more grounded in something more realistic, yeah, heist tropes, found family, coming of age. It's great. It's great. Just freaking pick up the series. Okay, last but not least, I finished this book last night. And when I tell you this was a genuine 5 stars out of 5 stars, I'm not lying to you. But I can't show you what the book is because, well, it's for an upcoming video. It's actually going to be showcased in 2 upcoming videos, so I can't tell you about it. But I need you to know that this book is phenomenal. It has everything I'm looking for in this specific type of story, in this particular kind of genre. You will not want to miss the next few videos. What a freaking ride and a half this was, okay? And on top of that, I also just started another book that I also can't tell you about because it's included in the video with that book I just told you about. Already, it has the potential to also be a 5-star. The video that I'm filming right now, the big reading vlog that I'm filming for the month of October, I think I did a good job, man. These books that I've picked, all of them have 5-star potential, and I'm so excited to talk to all of you about them, but I can't. But anywho, that's everything. That's like the 11 books that I've read, or the 12 books, or whatever. Now, there is some news that I want to share with you for the upcoming season, right? Spooky season is upon us. And usually, I dedicate a lot of my videos to Stephen King. I need to tell you this now. so you're not disappointed for October. I recently did a poll gauging how people felt about Stephen King content. See if they wanted to see it this year, see if they didn't want to see it this year. As you can see by the results, there was a large turnout for Stephen King content. I have had 4 incredible Stephen King video ideas planned since last year for this season. I'm only going to do one of them. Personally, I wanted to take a step back from doing as much Stephen King content in October because I did want to branch out into other spaces in horror and spooky books and other authors, and I wanted to see if I can find some new favorites, right? Some new things for the season. So there's only going to be one Stephen King video. And I know I have been getting a lot of you psyched for the secret novels video. Now, again, if you're new to this channel, over the course of the summer, I have been hinting at reading a secret series of books. And I recently posted this picture and said, I'm done. I've finished all of them. There are a lot of books in that photo, as you can see. This is a video that I've been planning for quite some time. And because I abruptly changed all of my plans, the secret novels video is no longer going up at the beginning of October. Instead, I now do not know when I'm going to get that video up. It's not going to be this year. And I'm sorry. I really do want to apologize to you for stringing you along and getting you excited. The reason I'm not uploading this video is because it's so big. There's so many things to it. I don't feel confident in it yet. I do not feel confident that I can release it and it would be the quality that I'm looking for as the creator of this video, right? I don't want to just get this thing ready for you and it not be my vision. I feel I have just not captured the vision for it yet. So please be patient. You will get it in all of its glory when it's finished, when it's completed. But as of right now, it is just a jumbled mess on my workshop floor. If it doesn't meet my standards, I know it's not good enough for you to see. So that being said, there was a lot of changes done to the fall schedule. I'm actually really excited to film every single video going forward for the spooky season and into fall. There's a huge thing my wife and I are doing mid-October, and we have probably the biggest book swap planned for you guys. I also want to get you guys hyped for November because every single video that I have planned in November, best video I've ever made, best video I've ever made, best video I've ever made. Like, they all feel that way. So just get ready. But folks, that is this video. Thank you for sticking around to the end. Thank you for hearing me babble about stuff on the channel. But I feel like I needed to prepare you if you got to this point. I know the OGs get to this point, so I love you and I thank you. And guess what? I'm gonna see you in the next one.